Hello, BookTube. I went out shopping today a little bit. Hit a thrift store where I've been getting quite a bit of Star Trek. I was hoping to get some more. And unfortunately, I mean, there was hundreds there, hundreds of novels. And I managed to grab 5 or 10 over the last couple of weeks. But somebody came in and cleaned them all out. So I waited too long. But I did find some good stuff. A little bit of a mixed haul. So I'm going to start here with a album, Beethoven, Fidelio, by Herbert von Karajan, the Salzburg Festival production. It's right here. Beautiful thing. So Karajan's Fidelio production at this year's Salzburg Easter Festival proved once again that the surpassing greatness of this maestro's affinity for grand opera, which, happily for us all, transcends the decades. Since 1967, Karajan's festivals have given us performances memorable for the artistry and dedication of those involved, which translates musically into an unforgettable experience. With Beethoven's masterpiece, the worthy tradition continues. It's EMI, an Angel record, and it comes with an opera guide for 1976. And in this, they mentioned the Orpheum Theater in Boston, February 15th, 17th, and 19th, 1976. The Opera Company of Boston. Sarah Caldwell was the artistic director. And then, well, here, I'll show you. Quite nice. A synopsis. The little explanation of some of the music. And, yeah, quite nice. What was that? Little ads in the back and all that, so somebody went to the opera. And then, the big libretto here. I actually quite like this design. The oversized portrait of Beethoven. Then we have our John Vickers and Helga Dernisch. Let's see who else we have here. Once in a while I'll do this and there'll be a autograph. This is Karl Ritterbusch and Zoltan Keleman. And Horst R. Lubenthal and Jose von Damme. And imagine what this would look like if you were trying to get this into a CD. I have plenty of CDs of operas, and the librettos are small enough to be difficult to read. Then you have Helen Donath and then Herbert von Karajan himself in images here. And then you have the acts of the opera itself. So, very nice. And then the Angel records look like this, the LPs. I'll just take out one of them so you get an idea. A little dusty, but not too bad. No real scratches or anything. A nice addition to the collection. And then, I got one more, something a bit different. There, I'll put this where I don't damage it. I got to redo those LP shelves downstairs. They're starting to get a little overloaded. This one's Julian Bream, the Julian Bream Consort, an evening of Elizabethan music. There's, I don't know how much of this you can see. It's sort of an odd color. A little dirty, but not too bad. RCA Victor. It's the Sorla series, S-O-R-L-A. So you have Julian Bream on the lute, Desmond Dupree on the Saturn lute, Joy Hall on the bass viol, David Sandeman on the flute, Robert Spencer baritone, Pandora and lute, and Olive Zorian on the violin. So this beautiful little libretto. And there, of course, is Julian Bream. And there's the consort. So they're playing Elizabethan music. There's nice illustrations in here, color. Talk about the Queen Elizabeth dances. Some notes on the music. These things are always very entertaining to read through with, or usually, when you're listening. I'm looking forward to this. Big Julian Bream fan. So then it has a single LP, a single disc. I'll show you that. Right there. And then on the back side here, of the inside of the box, the Julian Bream Consort and Evening of Elizabethan Music. It tells you the contents on each side of the disc itself. I don't know if you can see that. Sort of interesting. Somebody's made some notes here. Why they had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have no idea, but 1 through 10. And then some notes from critics. So, single disc, some Elizabethan music with the Julian Bream Consort, so some lute. I'm looking forward to that. Then I got a couple books. Like I say, I went there for the Star Trek books they didn't have. So, and that's fine. I did okay. But it does teach you to grab what you can when you can. So the first thing I got here is the Borgias, Ivan Clulos, translated by Gilda Roberts. This is published by Franklin Watts, New York and Toronto in 1989. First published in 87. Let's see here. Translation is from 89 also. So this is this looks to me to be a Book of the Month Club. So it was a choice of the Book of the Month Club. Ivan Clulos was a conservator-in-chief of the French National Archives, a member of l'École Françoise de Rome and of La Casa de la Velázquez à Madrid. He is one of the world's foremost specialists on the European Renaissance. And then the translator, Gilda Roberts, has translated Jean-Jacques Thierry's Opus Dei and has been a contributing translator to the Princeton Encyclopedia Classic Sites. And the jacket design is by Sam Salon. So their wealth exceeded the limits of the imagination. I got a pretty good imagination, but we'll see. Their political acumen and cunning inspired the genius of Machiavelli. Their influence on the Roman Catholic Church was unparalleled. The story of the Borgias is truly extraordinary, filled with intrigue and drama of men and women who gave free rein to their passions and scorned conventional morality. From 2 centuries of people, places, and events, Ivan Clulos creates a narrative that is both detailed and accessible. His account begins with Alonso Borgia, who maneuvered himself in the Italian aristocracy and eventually the papacy, filled ecclesiastical posts with his relatives, and ensured that his nephew would succeed him. The willful and unscrupulous Rodrigo consolidated the family's power, forged alliances with other nations, and also fathered several illegitimate children, including the most famous Borgias, Caesar and Lucretia. With the tactics that earned him notoriety as Machiavelli's ideal prince, Caesar struggled to build an Italian kingdom, relying on every sort of treachery, including fratricide and murder. Lucretia spent much of her life as an executioner and political pawn in the hands of her father and brother. Ironically, a Borgia seemed destined to expiate the sins of his ancestors. Francis Borgia, Rodrigo's great-grandson, led the Jesuits and later would be canonized by the Catholic Church. So, the story of the Borgias, Looks like a good index, printed sources and bibliography. And a big section of notes, so it's in a very detailed chronology. Yeah, it could be fun. Has reviews on the back by Paris Match, Le Monde, Historia, and Le Figaro. So we'll see. Then another history. This is a non-fiction heavy. It's entirely non-fiction, depending on what you think about the last one here. This one is Otto J. Meinkenhalfen, The World of the Huns, Study in Their History and Culture. There he is. Nice end papers. Map. This was... So it's Otto J. Meinkenhalfen, edited by Max Knight, University of California Press, Berkeley, Los Angeles, London, 1973. Does seem to be a first printing. Few persons know more about the Huns than their reputation as savage horsemen who flourished at the beginning of the Middle Ages, and the name of one of their leaders, Attila. They appeared in Europe from somewhere in the east, terrorized the later Roman Empire and the Germanic tribes, caused the greatest upheaval that the Mediterranean world had ever seen, the great migrations, and vanished. Illiterate, they left no written records. Such literary evidence of them as exists is secondary, scattered in the writings of contemporary and later reporters, fragmentary, biased, and unreliable. Their sole tangible relics are huge cauldrons and graves, some of which contain armor, equestrian gear, and ornaments. Who were the Huns? How did they live? So, this thing looks really fascinating. It's got images, the footnotes are pretty extensive throughout. But here's some more artifacts. I went through the bibliography, very, very heavy Russian sources, obviously. Just sort of my kind of thing. I'm really excited to get into this and see what it's got. Let's see if there's anything else here of interest to show you. So a non-fiction volume about the Huns. And then finally, I was sort of excited to find this. Bob's Merrill Publishers, Atlantis, The Truth Behind the Legend by A.G. Gallinopoulos and Edward Bacon. There's the Island of Terror. You can see where the explosion and the volcano was. These are end papers, quite colorful. This came out in 1969. So I start with the source of the legend. Of course, we know Plato. And then what Plato meant and said, the cultural impact. Beautifully illustrated throughout. A lot of it's black and white, but very nice. Yeah, that's the island of Surtsey, which showed up in the Atlantic. The volcano. Yep, Francis Bacon. So I discussed the history of what Atlantis has meant. And Then you get into the archaeology. You get some color images here. Here you are on the island of Terra. There's a volcanic history of Santorini. Some archaeology history. So I'm very excited to get this, and it's a bit dated, but looks like a nice scientific approach. So that is the book haul, and a couple of LPs. So a good day, some good stuff. So thank you, BookTube.